Hi. One of the first things that I teach math students, if they're just coming into a general math class, I do it with adult ed, and maybe if I'm meeting some students for the first time. One skill that a lot of people have trouble with is adding fractions. And so I thought I would go over a little bit of that and see if this is helpful for you, and maybe you can let me know in the comments and such. So I learned how to add fractions a certain way when I was in middle school and all that, and it seemed a little difficult. So anyway, there is a way where you can add fractions in your head, and that's kind of nice to be able to do. And so one thing I might start with is like adding 1/2 plus 1/3, something like that. Okay, 1/2 plus 1/3. A very typical thing that I see with a lot of people is they kind of go straight across. 1 plus 1 is 2, and 2 plus 3 is 5, and they say 2/5. Okay, so that is not correct. Okay, so we need to do it a different way. All right, so I thought we might go over a little example of what it means to add 1/2 with 1/3. Okay, so if I have, say for example, I have some Costco cakes here, and I have half of this sheet cake right here. Okay, I'm just going to shade it in. All right. Okay, and with this one, I want to cut this sheet cake into thirds, and so I cut that into thirds like that. And I might take 1/3 of that. Okay. All right. So this is 1/2 of a Costco cake. This is 1/3 of a Costco cake. And I want to add these two together. 1/2 plus 1/3. Okay. So one thing I can do is, you see how I have these cuts right down through the cake here? What if I made those same cuts along that line like that? It's still 1/2, right? But now it's cut into smaller pieces. In fact, it's 1, 2, 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So 3 out of the 6. And this one here, what if I cut this one straight across like that? It's still 1/3, but now it's 1, 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces there. So now these pieces are a lot more evenly sliced, they're about the same size. And so you can now add, if I have 3 of these 6 and 2 of these 6, the 6 kind of mean pieces, right? And so how many pieces do I actually have? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these 6, okay? So 5/6. Now, when you're adding fractions, you actually don't have to cut pieces of pie and things like that. There is a bit of a shortcut here, and I'll show you that here briefly. So what we did was we kind of, when we sliced across here and sliced across there, we kind of multiplied those two guys together, 2 times 3, because what was 2 became 2 times 3, or 6. And what was 3 became 3 times 2, or 6, okay? And 3 times 1 is 3, and 2 times 1 is 2, like that. 2 times 1 goes up here, 2. All right, 3, 6 plus 2, 6 is 5, 6. All right, so I've heard some people call this the butterfly method because it maybe looks like a little butterfly here. I don't know, kind of butterfly, whatever. But it does seem to work. Let's try another example here real quick. Just any set of fractions. So we'll say 2/5 plus 3/8. I don't know, something like that. Okay, 2/5 plus 3/8. Well, what you can do is just multiply straight across like that. 5 times 8 is 40. That gives you a common denominator. It's not necessarily always going to be the least common denominator, but it gives you a common denominator. 5 times 8 is 40. That comes down here. 8 times 2, 16. 5 times 3, 15. And now just add straight across. 16 plus 15, 31 over 40. and you're done, okay? So this method works, pretty well a lot of times. Sometimes you can even add fractions in your head, okay? The one time I would say I would not use this method is if there is an easy least common denominator. Say, for example, like, 3/8 plus 5/16, something like that. Okay. 8 times 16, that's getting some pretty big numbers. I mean, 8 times 10 is 80, 8 times 6, 48, 80 plus 48, 128. That's a pretty big number. You could do it, I could do it real quick here, in fact. 128, 16 times 3 is 48, right? And 8 times 5 is 40, 128. So 88 over 128, that's some big numbers. But in this case, you can see that 8 times and 16, there's a pretty easy least common denominator there. And this is closer to the way I learned fractions when I was a kid, least common denominator. So in this case, 16 is the least common denominator. So 5/16 is still 5/16. This 8 becomes 16. And what did you have to do to the 8 to get to the 16? 8 times 2 is 16. So 3 times 2 is 6. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top, right? Okay, so 6/16 plus 5/16 is 11/16, which is the same thing as 88 over 128, but obviously it's reduced. And so when these numbers are pretty compatible in the bottom, I would say go with the least common denominator way. But if there's nothing wrong with going this route and then reducing at that point, okay? So anyway, I hope that's helpful. Let me know in the comments. And it's my first video doing math lessons here, so you can let me know how it goes. And I hope it was helpful for you. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.